Hi everybody, it's Think Differently Thursday again, and my name's Helen, part of the Forge Church, if you're not normally tuned into us, and my guest this morning is the very lovely Audrey. Hello Audrey.
Hello Helen, morning.
Are you okay?
I'm fine and I hope you are too.
Yes, I'm really well, thank you. Now I do know you, but some people won't. Do you want to just in a nutshell, just tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name's Audrey Hart. I've lived in Debenham now for 47 years and I've been to the Forge a number of years, and I'm sorry I can't remember how long.
And I've discovered something about you this very morning, Audrey, because I've got Rob Driver here decorating my hall stairs and landing, and he tells me that you're his cousin.
I am his cousin.
This I did not know.
And his auntie and uncle were, his mum and dad, shall I say, were my auntie and uncle, and were very precious to me.
Oh,
yeah. My favourite.
Really? I didn't know about that connection. Fabulous. Yes. Audrey, you always look so gorgeous, so young and so glamorous. I knew you would come on the call today looking glamorous. How do you do it? How do you look so amazing all the time? What's your secret?
I don't know. I think it stems back from my days at working at Marks and Spencer's, and we were not allowed not to be prim. Right. And I think it probably stayed with me. I remember walking up the stairs one morning and the manager was coming down and he said, "Good morning, Miss Peck. Were you up late?" I said, "No, sir," as we always had to call him sir. He said, "Where's your makeup?" And I said, "It will be on before I go on the shop floor, sir." So I think it stems from there, really.
Yeah, interesting.
And then I suppose being at the surgery for a long while on reception, I suppose you're the first port of call, so it was important for the practice, really.
Yeah. Oh, well, yes, I think you always look amazing and gorgeous.
I'm not sure I don't. You want to see me on my garden days.
Do you put your makeup on to garden?
And I don't even do my hair.
I'd like to see that. So take me back, Audrey. I don't know loads about you. Take me back. So you say you've lived at that house or in Debenham for 47 years. So are you you're a Suffolk girl born in Suffolk?
I have. I've not progressed very far, really. My childhood started in Gosbeck.
Okay.
My parents then moved to Helmingham into a tied cottage. And then we moved back to Petter when I was 15. Right. And then from there I came to here. So my very local.
Lovely. Lovely. So tell me about growing up. You obviously were in Suffolk. Happy childhood. Obviously your cousin was Rob Driver. Happy childhood.
At one stage Rob was my next door neighbour. He was born next door to us.
Really?
Yeah. Yes, it was a happy time. My parents were, I would say, when in today's terms, my parents were quite poor, but we all had all the love in the world, which to me, if you've got love in the world, in a way, you're made. So grew up there. My parents never had a car, so everywhere we went, we either walked or cycled. Right. So every Sunday, we would go to Grandma and Granddad's and Nana and Granddad's at Petter, either walk or bike. Yeah. And then when my baby sister come along, we had no choice but to walk because the pram had to come.
Wow. Lovely. And what about school? Were you someone that loved school or loathed school or somewhere in between?
I quite enjoyed junior school. Yeah. Which was Helmingham. I then went to Framlingham because unfortunately Debenham hadn't got a high school there. Okay. And that was the two unhappiest years of my life. It was awful. You got caned. If you walked down the corridor and your tie wasn't dead straight or anything like that, you'd be pulled up. And I was actually scared at school in those 2 years. But then we came to Debenham. And Arthur Holyfield was the head, and he was a lovely Christian man, and it was just lovely. So I was lucky I had the opportunity to move on, really.
So you had very different experiences of school.
Very, yeah.
Of course, school's come a long way since those days, hasn't it? Of caning and being frightened.
Yeah.
And what about after school? Did you go straight to work from school?
Well, I was due to go back to do my GCSEs. In those days, you didn't have to do them. And I'd applied to Marks and Spencer to do a window dressing job.
Okay.
And the window dressing job wasn't available. So they said that they would keep me. I had an interview, they would keep me on.
Right.
And then when the opportunity came along, they would call for me.
Right.
Well, going back a little bit, it was a good job I didn't have to wait till then, because the girl who subsequently was the window dresser girl, I think stayed there for 45 years.
Oh.
So, and it was during the school holidays, I had a letter to say that they were willing, if I wanted to start on the shop floor with the vision of progressing if the window dressing job came available.
Right.
So I had to apply to school then to leave, and Arthur gave me permission to leave. So I went to work a week after my 15th birthday.
Really? Wow. And how long did you stay there at Marks and Spencer's?
I stayed there until after Paul and I got married.
Okay.
I was very lucky in that I got promotion quite quickly, because they were very good to work for, and if you worked hard, you got promotion quite quickly.
Yeah.
So I trained as a supervisor and got the job. But then when Paul and I got married, it was nothing for Marks and Spencer's to say, right, you're now going to Chelmsford for a month, or you're going to London for 6 weeks. And it was like, well, you were just newly married in love. You didn't want to be away from home for that period of time.
Yeah.
So I asked to go back on the shop floor, and the manager said, no. He said, you either stay where you are or you have to leave. Wow. So I left, unfortunately, which I didn't want to. Yeah. And I then went to mother care until I left work to have Aston.
Okay, interesting. And so you've mentioned the lovely Paul and marrying him. Where did you guys meet?
We actually met. We saw each other. It was very strange. A year before our paths crossed again.
Did you fancy him? Did you fancy him when you saw him?
First sight. Me and my friend. It was Frankston Baptist, and it was our anniversary. And you can remember chapel anniversaries.
Oh, I'm sure. Yes. Hats, new dresses, and everything.
Yeah, new hats, new dresses, wonderful times.
And we had to practice singing songs for weeks and weeks for the anniversary.
And we loved it, actually, because we got out.
It's like an annual event. Yeah.
Well, anyway, I was sitting next to my friend Linda, who we often sang together, and we looked up onto the balcony, and there was these 2 boys, and she said, wow, where have they come from? I said, I don't know where they've come from. Anyway, we
sounds like Romeo and Juliet up on the balcony.
Yeah. So we got out of the service quite quickly, but him and his brother had both gone.
Right.
And it was strange. Our paths never crossed again, didn't know where he came from or anything. And then at the time, there was an after church young people's group at Petter.
Yeah.
And we went, and he was there. And that's where it all started.
Oh, sweet.
It was quite sweet, because he actually said, I even remember what you were wearing that day. And I thought, oh.
So he remembered that first sight as well. Oh, that is so cute.
I know.
And so you obviously got married and had 2 kids. Have you got 2 children?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. Tell us about them.
Aston was born in 1972. We got married in 70. Then Adele was born 2 years later.
Right.
Aston now lives in America. He's very skillful in art, finishing, and does voiceovers for films and things like that, but it's quite a tough life out there, but he's out there, so I miss him. Adele was a childminder for many years. She's living here at the moment with her partner, and they're off to live in Bury in the near future. So that will be a new adventure for them as well.
Yeah, and you've got a granddaughter as well?
I have Mia, and she's the only one I've got, bless her, so she's very precious. And she was 21 last year.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So scary.
Have you thought at all? I've thought quite a lot recently, because my kids are grown up recently, just how hard it is for parents right now, and particularly with homeschooling. What would it have been like in your house if you had had to homeschool Aston and Adele?
I suppose if you look at it in today's, as we are today, it would probably have been really as hard as the parents are finding it today. But if it was homeschool when at their stage, I don't know if it would have been quite so hard for us.
Right.
Because there wasn't the choices of electrical things, and so it would probably have been much easier. But now I don't know where I'd start. I mean, I've spoken to parents and they've said school has changed so much, we don't even understand how they do the maths. So I think it's very tough.
Definitely. And so obviously Aston is in the States, so I guess that relationship, because of COVID, hasn't changed. I guess you're still communicating in whatever ways you were with him anyway. Do you do lots of this sort of thing with him?
Yes, I do, really. And
right.
WhatsApp. I mean, I think WhatsApp is a real blessing, because otherwise I don't think I could afford the phone calls like you. When your family are away. Would be, good old WhatsApp's good value for money.
It's just great. It's like the best thing ever. And are you able to see Adele? Do you bubble with her? Are you able to see her at all?
Well, she's living here at the minute.
Oh, I see. Right. Oh, that's nice for you then.
So they're living here at the minute.
So fabulous. Oh, that's nice. You're not on your own.
So I have my bubble.
Lovely. And so here we are in the beginning of 2021. What was 2020 for you? How did you kind of manage to get through what was such a difficult year? Did you kind of have strategies that kind of helped you through 2020?
I think I was very blessed, and I've got quite a large garden, and I do enjoy gardening. So I spent an awful lot of time in the garden. Also, I think Moses Project, which the church runs, has really been important to me, because we've been able to continue with that.
Oh, tell us a little bit about that, because there'll be people that listen that don't know what that is. Tell us a little bit about what that is.
Well, that was a project that was put together by a lovely girl called Rebecca. She was a school teacher, and she decided when she had her little family that she wanted to do something. So her dream, if you like, was to do something to help mums and kids. So she started this Moses Project, which is a basket that is given to a mum for whatever reason, many different reasons, but it contains a hospital bag for the mum. So mum has things to go into hospital. It has nappies, bin liners, sorry, nappy liners, not bin liners, nappy liners, books. It has an introduction to the forge. It has baby grows, vests, nappies, nappy changing, all the babies' toiletries. I think the value of them must be about £125 when they go out.
And I've seen pictures of them, and the Moses basket is just like packed full, isn't it? It just looks like the best gift ever. And I know it's just been just such a wonderful thing for so many people that just for whatever reason, as you say, aren't able to provide that stuff. Or I think there was somebody recently, it had been an unexpected pregnancy, and she just had nothing, absolutely nothing, and we were able to give her that. So that's been a bit of a lifeline for you as well over last year.
And still is, because and still is, because you know, every Tuesday morning, you know, you can get up and go off, because we can social distance and there's only the lovely Nikki and I, we can do it. And we've also been allowed to do it because we're considered that we're helping the vulnerable. So that's been really lovely.
Great. Oh,
really
that's amazing that not only has that been helping other people, but that's actually like helped you as well, helped you through that year. That's brilliant. I think I think in many ways it's been a tough year. I think in some ways it's almost getting tougher, and I speak to lots of people really struggling with their mental health. Do you think that's something that you're seeing, people struggling with mental health because of what we're living through?
I think it will. I think it will be I worry, because I wonder if some people will actually even find it hard to go back out into the environment if they've been stuck at home for a long time. And I think I'm lucky where I live. I can go out in the garden and somebody always walks past the house, so you can have a social chat. But for people who live in top floor flats and got children, I just do not know what their life must be like. It must be absolutely horrendous. And I think mental health is going to suffer for quite a number of years before it gets back to any kind of normality.
I think you're right. I think so much has changed, and there'll be readjustment again, won't there? I said about Rob being here decorating, it even feels strange that someone else is in my home, and normally people would be in and out of my home all the time, but we've got used to something different now, haven't we? And it's going to all take adjustment again, I think. Definitely.
And that human contact, I think, that hug, you know, I mean, I felt awful. I went down to the village on Monday, and there was a lady who lives on her own, and she just happened to come out of the bread shop, and there's a bench on the bread shop, outside the bread shop. So I said, should we have a coffee? Oh dear, that would be lovely. So we sat and had a coffee, and this lady came along who I know quite well, and her daughter has been ill for a long time. And I happened to say to her, how's Kate? And she burst into tears. And I actually felt, why did I ask? Because I couldn't and give her a hug. And that to me was just so painful, watching her cry, but I couldn't do anything about it. It was horrible.
I think you're right. I think there'll be really long-lasting consequences for what we've lived through. So
do you think we'll ever get back to hugging?
I think there will be some people that will be really wary. I do. I think probably not in the same way as we used to have it. I think unless it happens gradually, do you know what I mean? In the same way as we've adjusted to the change, maybe we adjust back gradually. I don't know. But I think even things like shaking hands, which is a more formal thing, isn't it? You're more likely to shake hands with people that you don't know so well. I wonder if we won't do that, because there'll be people that you don't know, and so are you going to touch people you don't know? So the hugging is people you do know. I think you're going to feel more inclined to feel that that's safer, but I don't know if we'll touch people in the same way.
No.
Don't know.
No.
It will be interesting. I think other things we'll always have, as you go into shops and communal buildings, I think there'll always be sanitizer there now, don't you? And it'll become habit that you, before you go somewhere, you'll just do your hands. And I think we won't share things in the same way. People won't. I don't know. Sometimes I'm watching things on the telly, you know, when people sharing a drink or something, and it makes me go, and I just wonder if we won't do that sort of thing so readily anymore.
Like when you go out to dinner, you won't try that person's dessert.
But I guess what will happen as well is people will be in different places with it, won't they? So you'll always be trying to second guess what's okay for the other person as well, I reckon. Don't know. So what else fills your time, Audrey? You've talked about your garden, and you've talked about the Moses project. Have you got other stuff that kind of fills your day?
Well, the last 2 weeks, it's only just happened in the village. we've got a new lady vicar, who's Susan, who is lovely, and I think you've probably met through the prayer thing. She's delightful, she's lovely, and she started this pop-up shop.
Oh, okay.
Which is goods that come from a supermarket that would go to landfill if they weren't used.
Yeah.
She started this pop-up shop on a Thursday morning every week, and she asked volunteers to help with that.
Right.
So I volunteered, and I had my first shift yesterday.
Back to the retail then, back to the shop floor.
I know. And it was lovely. And so I think now she's trying to develop teams, and I think it looks like we'll be on every other week.
Right.
But, dependent if other people want to join in and help. So that's really nice. It's at the minute at the stage where I think it's hard for people to walk through the door because they consider it charity.
Okay.
But it's not. It's food that we hope will help and won't end up in landfill.
Yeah.
So and that now will entail me doing a little bit of work on a Wednesday as well, because you have to meet the lorry, unload it, and then get it ready for Thursday.
Right.
So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday now will be quite nice.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds such a great thing to be happening as well. Oh, what a great good thing. Do you think there's almost a sense in is there a sort of feeling of solidarity doing that sort of thing as well? People pulling together for the greater good of other people. Feels like it's just a sort of positive thing to be doing.
I think so. And I think what amused me yesterday, we had actually 4 cans of corned beef. And this old man came in and he said, corned beef. And I thought, this is almost like going back to the wartime. When they had to make perhaps a tin of corned beef, stretch family dinner. And that really so reminded me that, they had tough times. We now experience tough times, and yet some things are still there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, full circle. Yeah. Really interesting.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned being part of the Forge. So tell me about your faith journey. Has God always been a part of your life, or relatively recently? What's your faith story, Audrey?
I started going to Sunday school when we went to Grandma and Granddad's on a Sunday. Petter Church ran a Sunday school, so we all, Mum and Dad, I don't know how Mum did it, but we always had our roast dinner and managed to get there. So we went to Sunday school there, which was lovely. I loved every minute of it. I then progressed to Framston Baptist. When we lived at Helmingham, we had a lovely man who decided the kids couldn't get to the chapels, so they would pick them up.
Right.
So he had this old minibus, and he used to come up the road and pick all the kids up, take us to Sunday
school. Probably
pile
them all in, no seat belts, on laps.
So that was a real blessing to me, because there was lots of people there who actually really loved us kids and wanted to do things with us kids. And Sue Johnson's mum and dad were there, Ray and Josie.
Right.
And they, I think whether it was the church, or I think the whole church went, if I remember, but they took us to Billy Graham in 1966 in London.
Okay, right.
So that's when I really came to faith. When he spoke on John 3:16, for God so loved the world.
Yeah.
And I can remember just thinking, well, that means he must love me too. So
it's giving me goosebumps.
So that's where it stemmed from, really.
Wow, that's amazing. And would you say, in looking back over this last 12 months that have been really tricky, would you say that your faith has helped you during this last year?
Yes, every minute, because I think your faith encourages you to perhaps trust, and that is God teaching us that the world was just going so fast and this is a way of slowing us down? I don't know. I don't know, but I think the world was going so fast that it needed something to slow us down.
Right.
I don't know if that's right, putting God in that context in a way, because I'm not blaming God, obviously, for this. But I think to have had a faith during this time has definitely been a real blessing.
Right. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah.
Because you still got, outside your home, you still got those people who you could contact, who still care about you. You check in with me, Jill checks in with me. So in a way, you're not alone if you take a step as well. Excuse me. Because you have got those people outside your front door if you need them, and they're there for you.
Great. Yeah. And Audrey, you're a wonderful person. Whenever I bump into you, you're always smiley and happy and such a warm personality. But I know that you have experienced real loss in your life and real sadness with the loss of your lovely husband, Paul, which was it 10 years ago now?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I, in a sense, I don't know how you get over something like that. And I guess you don't get over it. I guess you learn to live with it. Is that, how did you cope at that time, Audrey?
I think one thing I always remember, and I can still remember, the police lady standing in the door and saying, I'm sorry, but he has died. Because that morning he'd been missing 3 days, and we'd been given some positive news in that his mobile phone had pinged. And I didn't realise the police could trace phones like that, and it pinged as though he was trying to come home. And for whatever reason, I don't know why that phone pinged, because that phone obviously had not moved from where he had left it. And a number of years ago, and I can't remember when, Steve spoke one Sunday morning, and he spoke on trust. And that message really hit home to me, that when he spoke that day, that in life you have to trust. You have to trust God. It might not always be what you want from God or what you would expect. And I can remember falling, and I don't know why I fell. And as I fell, I remember thinking, the only thing I can do now is trust, because I've got no other choice now. And I look back now and I think my phone only ever didn't ring once when I needed my phone to ring. And that was the Friday night after Paul had died, and the phone had been quite busy. But I remember crying and crying and crying. And I think, in a way, that was my time that I needed to be alone and to cry. Because other times when I felt really lonely and life's been a bit tough, my phone has always rung. So I've been very blessed that way. And I have got friends my friends and my church family have got me where I am today. I haven't got there. Without them, I would not be where I am today, because that would just be impossible.
And I think God really does that. I think he really surrounds us with people that, can scoop us up and just be there, not even necessarily be saying anything or do anything, just be there with us and go through the stuff with us. I think there would be people that would say, what is the point having faith in God, or where is God in such a tragic situation? What would you say to that?
One of my close friends, I don't know if you remember, but there was a tragic accident about a week before Christmas when a girl in Debenham was killed in a car accident.
Yeah.
And that was one of my really treasured friends, if you like. It was her friend, and I remember having to go to tell her that her friend had been killed in a car accident. And I thought, Bridgie knows I goes to church, and I'm not saying, she goes to church on the odd occasion, but I thought, I know what she's going to say to me, and what am I going to say to her? And she said, Audrey, how could God let this happen? And the only thing I could say to her, whether that was right or wrong, I said, there is still a thing in life called human error.
Yeah.
And God can't control all our human errors, can he? You know, we are responsible for ourselves. And whether that at the time was the right answer at all, I do not know. But that was all I could bring myself to say to her, that there is human error in life, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah. And I think when these sad things happen, I think his heart breaks too. I think he feels that pain too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you are absolutely inspirational. I know that you and your story and your faith in God have really inspired so many other people as well. Thank you for talking with me. I know it's not an easy thing, but it's just, yeah, so wonderful to hear what your story is. Just in finishing, I talked to a 12-year-old on here a few weeks ago, probably my youngest guest, which was really interesting. If you could go back to being 12-year-old self, what would your advice be to yourself when you were 12?
Not wanting to grow up too fast.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think when you get to that age, you want to be grown up. But I don't think you realise, and I think it's even harder for children today.
Yeah.
That I sometimes look and I think, do we allow children to be children for long enough? In my heart, we don't.
Yeah.
But I remember wanting to be grown up.
Yeah.
When I was about that age.
Yeah.
And I think it's like when the children were little, my dear mum used to say to me, don't worry about the house or anything. They're little for such a short time.
Yeah.
And I think when I look back at that, I think, yeah, and you're little for such a short time.
Yeah.
Don't grow up.
Just take your time. Yeah,
and be a child.
Yeah, I think that is very, very sound advice. Audrey, it's been so wonderful to talk to you, and I'm quite certain, I haven't asked you this, but I'm quite certain that if anyone wanted to talk further with you about your story, or particularly about your faith in God and why it's been so important to you, you'd be happy to talk to people, wouldn't you?
I would.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me this morning.
Oh, I've really, really enjoyed it. And yeah, I would reiterate what you've said, that if we can help at the Forge, if people have resonated with any of your story and we can help people, then we would love to engage with them and help them to find Jesus. That's what we're all about, helping people find and follow Jesus. But yeah, I'm so grateful that you've chatted to me. It's been absolutely lovely. It's always lovely to talk to you. Thank you, Audrey. See you soon.
Bye-bye.